is enough.
I want the world to be the best place for my children.
You are not alone.
We need renegades to be part of this movement, and they're the ones that are going to change the world.
Welcome back to Renegade Radio, the podcast dedicated to the dissenters of the status quo, bringing you the mindset and strategies to build a healthier, happier, and stronger family, the Renegade way.
It's so important to be a renegade.
Good day, Renegade Radio listeners. This is Dr. Todd, your host, and I'm really excited to bring to you today's guest, Dr. Craig Gilberd. He has been just a pivotal point in my life and my family's life. Craig Gilberd is the reason that we're in Australia today and have been here for 7 years. He gave us an opportunity which opened doors for us and has just been a nonstop growing experience, fun. We've been blessed here in Australia for 7 years now. And Craig has been an inspiration to me and my family, as well as a guiding light for us and a trove of knowledge and wisdom. And not only that, but for many of my friends and colleagues as well. He is an amazing human being. And if you want to learn how to have a life of adventure and pursue your life's goals and dreams, nobody better to listen to than Craig Gilberd. My wife and I distinctly remember setting up Skype in 2009. We had barely even heard of it, let alone use it. So we had to set it up, and we did this interview. We were in Carlsbad, California, and we had an interview over Skype with him about coming to work for his group in Australia. And when we first heard his voice, it was just very surreal, very Aussie. And it was all very exciting and intriguing and, like romantic. Go to Australia. This is amazing and / crazy. We're selling everything. But I want to introduce you to Craig, and he's got some amazing stories to share with you, and ultimately that will serve you in creating and going after the life you want. I don't want to take away too much of Craig's steam, but I can tell you that he has sailed around the world, I think more than once. He was a professional hang glider. He is, I don't think he has a title of professional, but he's a renowned spear fisherman. You name it, he probably has done it and has inspired me and so many people. So without further ado, here you go. Here's Craig. So, hi Craig, what's up?
Hey Todd, how you doing? Yeah, good to touch base, mate. And looks like we can tell a few stories, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. Well, listen, Craig, I've told our listeners a little bit about you. I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit more as we're having different, I'm inviting different folks from different backgrounds to be on the show. And what I haven't told our listeners yet is how you've been a great mentor to me and many others like me. Not only just, in a business sense, but more in a life sense and a possibility thinking. And, throughout the context of our chat, I just love our listeners just to get an idea. I basically want them to get off the podcast and go, wow, I really can do and achieve what I want to, and that's a possibility. So before we dive into all that, Craig, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, and and we'll go from there.
Well, I'm a bit like you, Todd. I'm not an Australian. I'm a Kiwi. So I was born in New Zealand and grew up in, I guess, mainly in Auckland in my older childhood. But I was a sick kid. I was always bloody sick. And probably in my early teens, I developed, I had like terrible migraines, low back problems. I was dragged off the footy field with sciatica because I couldn't walk at only 14. I was always the last kid out of the class because it took me that long to get out of my seat. And we had very good family friends. The kids that I played with at school, their dad was a local medical doctor and a very good doctor. So I went down the full medical route with that, and just got worse and worse and nowhere. Not because of the quality of the doctor. I think it was medicine basically let me down, and I was just so lucky to be referred to Dr. Wally Robb, chiropractor in Auckland, and who became, well, he's still my hero. Sort of long story, but within probably 2 or 3 months, I was just like a new kid on the block, and yeah, did I want to be a chiropractor there? I was really thinking about it until a little bit later on. I got a really severe case of mononucleosis or glandular fever. So, and my mum happened to be visiting. By then, I'd got my mum and my dad, my brother and sister, they were all patients. And so I got my blood test done on a Monday, got the results back. Doctor said, you've got 6 weeks off school, nothing we can do, go home, take it easy, all that sort of stuff. So Mum saw Wally on Thursday and said, for goodness sake, bring Craig in. So I went in on Friday morning. He adjusted me Friday morning, adjusted me Friday night. I got up Saturday morning asymptomatic and took the engine out of my car, and I went back to school on Monday.
Unbelievable.
That is why I would do anything to help one person just like he helped me, and that's when I decided to be a chiropractor. So, so that started my journey. So I went across to the States, to Iowa, to the Fountainhead of Chiropractic, Palmer College, and graduated from there, and then came out to Australia and practiced. And I was too young to practice in New Zealand when I graduated, so I came over here and loved Australia so much. So I went into an associateship and bought that practice, and then developed other practices in South Australia. And from there I found another love. Well, I actually burnt out in practice. I had a very big practice, and I got to a stage where I just burnt out and I had to have a break. So I bought a yacht and went off sailing for the next 15 years around the world.
That's one heck of a break, Craig. I love it.
It was a break, and it was like I had another life. I've had 3 lifetimes. My practice life before that was brilliant, and so I'm saying, like, we could sit here all day, Todd, and I could tell you more blooming stories about places I've been on my yacht.
Yeah, I will come back to that because I have a few just bullet points to ask to condense that. But I'm sure our listeners want to hear a little bit more about the adventures of Craig.
So when I came back, I had to get back into chiropractic. It's just I live and eat and breathe just like you do, Todd. So I went back into practice, and then so this is when I started buying practices and trying to mentor young chiropractors until we developed what today is called Total Lifestyle Chiropractic, of which you came and joined, Todd, which is one of the best days of our lives.
Stop. Well, just briefly for our listeners, it was the reason I'm in Australia today is thanks to Craig and some of his team, and provided an opportunity for us, which has been amazing. And we're still in Australia. It's been, Craig, 7 years now. I will publicly say thank you so much for the opportunity, man. And you continue to this day to be a positive role and an inspiration to me. But I'll let you continue the story with TLC. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I must say, in response to that, I've learned a lot off you too, Todd. And the teacher learns more than the pupil, and I've learned many things off you. So we developed a group of 17 practices up and down the coast here, and I believe, and I achieved my dream of enabling thousands of people a week to improve their lives. That's my purpose in life, to help people get a better quality of life. And so that's where we're at. Then I've just recently sold the business. I still help them out, obviously, with some mentoring roles. And I'm very proud to say I live in a paradise. I think you were there when my house was half built there, Todd. I live on an island offshore, and I have my own plane that I commute backwards and forwards to Mackay, which is only a 15-minute flight. And I'm living in a paradise, absolutely. And I think the thing I want to get across to the listeners, learn to dream. If your mind can come up with it, you can do it. What you conceive, you can do, you can achieve.
You're onto it, and you've kind of touched on some, Craig. Well, let me just go back first, a little story. I came up to Mackay to visit you, and you said, "Hey, I gotta bring some stuff back to my house on the island. Do you wanna come along in the plane?" And for folks listening, this is and Craig, correct me if I'm wrong. It's an old like bush plane that you kind of did up. Yeah, can you describe the plane a little bit? Because to me, it was like hopping into an old VW Volkswagen Bug. And I'm like, does this thing have enough parts to get us over that? I was really nervous. You know?
Absolutely. And it's a 1970 Piper Cherokee. Yeah, so it's a four-seater, but you've got to be pretty small to get in the back, right, Todd?
That's right. It's like the back seat's really for your cooler or esky for your groceries and fly it in.
Exactly. So, and I've still got the same plane. It's been rebuilt. I've rebuilt the engine, and I tell you what, it's the best little thing that I've ever had. It's just brilliant. I've flown there and back to the island about 1,200 times now, and it's just brilliant.
So it keeps ticking. And I remember, you know, it's a beautiful, flying over its crystal blue waters, and you live at the very top of this little island. So gang, when you come to Craig's house, you kind of bank around. There's this little tiny landing strip, and if you're not used to these things, you're like, we're gonna land there, you know, and then we pop out, wipe the sweat from my brow, and then you hop into a little golf cart, right, a little golf buggy. And then up the hill to Craig's house. So that's a bit about Craig's lifestyle. It's pretty cool. Fly in and fly out. It's the only way to go. Hey, Craig,
Absolutely. Or you can sail in and sail out too.
Yeah, that's the other way to go, if you're into the boating. But look, you told us a little bit about, what inspires you, and obviously, to grow a series of practice and to manage really your mentoring and managing people, and lots of them. So it takes a tremendous effort. So you've definitely had to put in the hard yards and work over the years. So I don't want our listeners to think that, you just got, a plane and a island home landed in your lap. Lots of hard work, but it is possible. And that's what I wanted to our listeners to get across is what's possible. Most people aren't thinking about sailing around the world or island, houses on islands that they have to fly their own plane in, but that's cool, that's Craig for sure. But
and that's not for everybody, but everybody's got a dream, Todd, and you've got to be. I didn't see this setting up TLC, the practices, as hard work, because I was, as you know, we were so passionate about it, and we slept and ate and breathed practices and helping young people, and the more people, young chiropractors I could help, the more people are out in the public helping. And you've got to have passion to drive yourself. And I've got a really good quote here that I live by, Todd. I just read it off here.
Hit us with it.
Yeah. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavours to have the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in common hours.
That's powerful. Who's that
beautiful, Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer, yeah, brilliant, beautiful.
So in order to live up to that quote, one, you've got to have dreams and you've got to have imagination. Like I'm looking at this photo on the screen here with you and one of your daughters, and look at your young kids and how they can imagine. Their imagination runs wild at that age, doesn't it? And we lose it as we get older. So anyone listening here, just let your imagination go, luxuriate in it. That's where dreams come from.
Yeah, and then I'm going to add to that, Craig, because I think that's brilliant advice. I want to add to the fact that, a lot of people just think, oh, those are pipe dreams. Sure, you're just dreaming, you're daydreaming, but that you can also make those dreams a reality. Whether it's I'm going to sail around the world for 15 years, or I'm going to launch a new business. I'm going to have the marriage of my dreams. Whatever it is, that those things are actually possible. But it starts with a dream, and then I guess you'd say the what would you say? The tenacity to go after it, the belief that you can.
Yeah, and I think too, writing it down, Todd.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us, our listeners. So they've got a dream and a goal. How do they, in a nutshell, work towards making that a reality? I lost you again.
You might wake up in the middle of the night in a thought, right?
Hey, Craig.
You wake up in the morning and it's gone, or you're in a different.
Craig, you're dropping. You're dropping a little bit. You might have to go back about 30 seconds when I asked you about, how to make a plan, so to speak, how to make it come to reality.
Okay, well, yeah. So that you can have these thoughts and imagine, but you've got to write it down. You've got to document it, because you might be in a particular frame of mind now, and a great idea pops into your mind. Next day, you might be in a different frame of mind, and that thought doesn't ring true. So when you have a thought of great things that you imagined, let's write it down then and there. And compile this list and read it over and over and help stimulate the ideas. But I challenge everyone listening here to go ahead in 5 years' time and imagine with no restrictions in energy, no restrictions in money, no restrictions in time. Imagine, not reality, imagine how your life could be in 5 years' time. And just let your mind go and write it all down. And read it over and over and over. And all of a sudden you start thinking, gee, I reckon I might be able to do some of that. And it starts to get your mind thinking in the right direction. If you listen to TV or radio and the news, everything's negative. Negative news sells. Positive news doesn't sell that well. So you've got to train yourself to be on the positive side of things, not on the negative side. And if you rely on the local media, you'll stay where you are and wallow. So
I like that, Craig. So
here's my advice too, Todd.
Yeah.
One more thing. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Be very careful who you spend your time with.
Who you hang out with, that's right. You know, people hold you down and fill you full of negative, and you can't and you won't, and excuses. You know, and that's really the whole thing about the Renegade family. The whole idea of Renegade is if you're going to achieve the life you want and the goals and the dreams, you have to be a renegade. And, you know, the logo, there's a rhino. You know, the rhino doesn't sit and watch the news and hang out with folks that are just going to drag them down. You know, you're going to hang out with other rhinos who are excited about life, positive, goal and dream oriented. That's who you want to surround yourself with. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Many notable people have said, do the opposite of what most people do, and you'll never make another mistake. And that's kind of what you're talking about. That's right. Go renegade, man. Don't be afraid.
Absolutely.
Craig, let me ask you a question. Was there a point in your life, speaking of renegade, I like to call it a renegade moment. Was there a pivot point, and you may have already mentioned it, a pivot point in your life when, you know, kind of light bulbs went off and you realized that you had to think and do things differently, that you had to do things different than quote unquote the common, the average, the mainstream. Was there a moment that happened for you? Or is it a series of moments?
Yeah. Look, probably when I got burnt out in practice, I got to a stage where I just ran out of energy, Todd. You know, every 3 minutes of my day from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night were accounted for. And I got to a stage, I burned out. In retrospect, as you know, Todd, I'm celiac. I was celiac, and that would be why. But I had to make a really firm decision there. And that's why I've sailed since I was a kid. So that's why I thought I need to change my lifestyle. So that was probably that
was a big one.
You know, a big moment to actually stop practice. And but I put a lot of effort into making sure that I replaced myself with, you know, 2 or 3 others, and they took over the practice, etc.
Yeah, looking after folks.
Yeah, that was pretty tough.
So let's talk about that for a second. So whether it be sailing or professionally, was there a time you can tell us about in your life where you had a very, you know, you kind of mentioned it a little bit there with celiac, but maybe there was something even bigger where you had a significant challenge or struggle? Could be, again, personally, could be professionally, could be out on the ocean, where you had a real struggle, and how did you overcome that, and what was the takeaway? What did you learn from it?
Well, we'll go back to the sailing thing. I was in Trinidad, and we just sailed down to myself and my girlfriend sailed down to an island that's only 20 miles from Shakashari, which is where we were moored. And on the way back, one of the main wires on my mast broke, and my mast broke in half.
Your mast, like
So I'm on
the thing that holds the
mast.
sail, right?
The thing that holds the sail up. So there's ropes and wires and sail and crap everywhere, all tangled around, and I'm on the other side of the world in a third world country.
Yikes.
So I managed to wind to get everything up, so it wouldn't get in the propeller, and so it took a while, and then so we started motoring back, and I actually radioed my buddy who was back at the anchorage, and so by the time we got back there was about 20 blokes in dinghies waiting to help us. They all came on board, stripped the whole boat down, had the spare, the top half of the mast that had broken off. They'd had it all off, all wrapped up, all ready for, and the guys at the boatyard there, whom I knew pretty well, organised a crane to lift it all out of the boat, and they set me up a spot amongst all the boats that they're hauling out to paint and all that sort of stuff. And they said, look, we're not going to charge you. You've had some bad luck. We're not here to take advantage of that. And that's a community, like the sailing community and the chiropractic community is the same. We're there to help each other. And I learnt so much and was so indebted to these guys. It was just, it took me 6 weeks I had to buy stuff from the States and ship it in. We repaired the whole mast and everything. And the help that I got from all those other people. And this is life, Todd. Like, I might adjust another yachty that's having strife. Now, he might be a diesel mechanic. He might help the guy further over in the anchorage with his diesel, and he might be a dentist and he helps his teeth, and that guy might be an air conditioning guy that comes and fixes my fridge. Doing good deeds doesn't need to come back directly. And in the yachting fraternity, that's is a huge part of it. And I think we need to bring that back into our lives out of the yachting scene. And it happens in chiropractic, doesn't it, Todd?
Absolutely.
We're all there to help. And that was great about TLC. There was so many chiropractors there, all sharing a huge amount of knowledge between us and helping each other. And a life lesson was really good in that regard. But I can still vividly see that mast falling into the water. I tell you, what a night!
Oh yeah, you would have been
not a pretty sight.
bit of a nightmare. But you ended up being obviously just loved and helped by the locals. And sounds very terrible that you were stranded in a tropical location for a few weeks. That sounds pretty awful.
Oh, it was terrible.
At least you weren't stranded in like Dayton, Ohio, or something.
Well, a lot of yachties spend the cyclone or the hurricane season, they call it up there, in Trinidad, because they don't come that far down. So I'd been there for quite a few months and knew most of the people, and it was brilliant place to have it happen. In retrospect, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story with us, and I'm sure our listeners can relate. And then I think again the takeaway is it's kind of like that good karma thing, just love others, give back with no not expecting anything in return, give for the sake of giving, and always comes full circle. Imagine if we all just did that. If we just did that, how different our communities would be and the world would be if we just acted like that. That's awesome.
Absolutely, and there's another lesson in that too, Todd, that I had a number of people come up and say, "Gee, if my mast broke like that, I'd give up." And I'd go home. So that was not even in my mind. Like, it wasn't even it was just, I've got to get this.
Craig, you're a rhino, man. You're a renegade. That's
exactly.
The whole idea.
And the passion, I just, it was,
That's beautiful.
I had,
so there's another lesson. There's another lesson there. When all seems lost, don't give up.
Absolutely. Never, ever, ever, ever give up on your dream. Never give up.
And then once they fixed that boat, where did you go from there, and how long were you sailing again after that point?
Okay, well, I normally had quite a lot of crew. It was a big boat. And from then I thought I just had my dog, Stacel. You know my dog, little fella. And I thought, I'm just going to sail by myself. So I actually headed off up the West Indies again. I'd already been up there once. So I headed off to Grenada by myself. And I tell you what, I spent it was a day and night trip, and I spent half the night looking up my mast, making sure it was okay. I tell you.
So from the time your mask broke to the time you eventually came back to Australia to start, practicing and building that again, how much time went from the broken mask to coming back to the mainland?
That broke in 1993, and I got back and started practice in 2001 back here. Okay,
so I'm good at math. 7 years. So if you would have quit, you would have lost out on 7 years of experience and travel on the So that's massive. So that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, let me ask you: is there something you're working on now? Again, be it professionally or personally, a project that you're really excited about that you're working on?
I've got another boat now, a different boat. I don't know if you've seen that one, Todd, but so I've been working hard on that just recently. Having retired only less than 2 years ago, I'm planning another trip. Next year we want to head up to the southeastern part of New Guinea, which I haven't explored, and take this other boat up there and get back into the tropical life. I just love spending time in communities that are living indigenously. And they do up there. Just we strive for material things and financial independence up here. But my definition of financial independence is maintaining your lifestyle and not having to go to work. Well, these guys up there that have nothing and don't work, have nothing materially. They are the happiest people you could ever get. They've got their canoes, they've got their grass huts, they've got their communities and their families. It's so magic to be in their environment.
Yeah, and I haven't spent as much time as I'd like with some indigenous and quote third world places, but it's amazing how in the Western culture we get so caught up in what happiness is supposed to be. If I have to have a big house, I have to have 2 cars, I have to have all this material stuff to be happy. And you notice it seems like the people who are constantly chasing that often, not always, but often, they're not happy at all. They're stressed out, they're laden with debt, and they're really kind of contradicting their own values. They just want to be happy and have a healthy family, and they're busy working in a job they don't really like, to pay for stuff they don't really need, to impress people they don't really like.
And I reckon, Todd, in our modern society, the way we're set up, if you have a vocation, a job or a profession which you're absolutely passionate about, it's not work.
No, not at all.
Yep, and as in that quote, you will meet with success unexpected in common hours.
Well, that would be my message. What you're talking about here, Craig, for our listeners is if you're getting up tomorrow to a job, you don't like it. You're there because you're turning up for a paycheck. That's a gut check. You only have one life, and it goes back to start that dream, write it down, and what's possible, and start working towards what do you want to do, who do you want to be. And go after it, because you don't want to look back on your deathbed and go, well, I worked for 40 years in a job I hated for what? What was the outcome? I paid bills, bought some stuff, and that was it. No legacy,
Yeah, mate, the key word you said there is for what?
Yeah, for what?
Okay.
Purpose.
There's not a problem going to a job and slaving your guts out, not particularly wanting to be there, if you're driving towards this magic outcome.
Yeah.
If I said to you, Todd, I want you to go into your backyard and you've got a drainage problem there, and we're going to dig ditches all weekend. And drainage, we're going to slog your guts and dig ditches. You'd say, no, I don't want to do that. But if I was to say to you, Todd, we're going to make your backyard into a tropical paradise. We're going to have palms, and we're going to put a pool in, and it's going to be absolute for you and your kids and your wife. It's going to be just magic. But in order to do that, we've got to go and dig some ditches this weekend.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay? No problem. So to reach your dreams and this life that you imagined, you're going to have to do the crappy stuff too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a purpose to it.
Yeah. Well, and I say this because just in practice, for example, there's people that come in, they might have like a government job, and And just day in and day out, there is no outcome. They just go in to collect a paycheck, and they spend 8 hours doing stuff they don't really want to do and hanging out with people they don't want to hang out with. So, but inside of that, yes, if that's a stepping stone or something you got to slug out to achieve your bigger dreams and purpose, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes there's a difficult task, uncomfortable things, etc. I'm sure you've had plenty, and we will continue to have more, won't we?
Absolutely, and I think one of the best things that, another quote that I love is, "You must leave everyone better than you found them." And it's so good to be in practice when that's what you do every day. And I think if the general public could think, I must leave everyone better off than I found them, in some small way.
That's a fantastic statement, Craig, because I think myself and most of the listeners have heard, leave a situation better than you found it, or like, let's say you borrowed someone's car, you return it better than they gave it to you. It's washed, the gas tank's full. But,
exactly.
But you just said leave people in a better way than you found them. Now that's significant. That's a powerful statement. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, well, it might be a matter of just making the chick at Woolies smile when you're there. Any little thing, a little old lady, help her across the road or whatever it might be. It
always feels good too, right? I mean, you just feel good doing that stuff anyway. It's good. It's a win-win situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Craig, let me just go back to your some of your adventures here just briefly. I'm sure most of our listeners, again, like myself, I think we'd all fantasize about sailing around the world, but most of us don't know anything about sailing, or it sounds scary being in the open ocean. Can you tell us maybe about your your scariest event or adventure whilst out in your travels?
Yeah, as long as I can tell you about a really good one, because I don't want people to get the idea that it's really scary.
No, that's the follow-up question is your most rewarding experience.
Yeah, good on you. Look, probably we were sailing up. We'd sail up the coast of Australia up to Cape York, across to a place called Gove, or Nullumbi, I believe it is in that proper name. It's a bauxite mine. And we got there, I had a bunch of crew, and went to the local sailing club there, and they said, "Oh, you're here for the race?" We said, "What race?" We said, "Oh, there's a race here tomorrow from here to Darwin. And there's a $5,000 prize money." I thought, "Oh, that sounds good." So I put it to the crew. So we had to stock up and prepare the boat. And so we decided to go on this race. And we were happy to be the biggest boat in the race. So they voted us to be the radio boat, where we radio everybody's positions into Darwin at 8 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, off we went, and we were doing really well. And we get round, I don't know if anyone here knows the geography up there, but Cape Wessel is another cape that comes up just west side of the Gulf and Carpentaria. So we go around there, and now it's the middle of the night, and I'm down having a bit of a snooze, and they come and wake me up and said, "Hey, Craig, it's the wind's getting up. It's blowing 40, 45 knots. We had full sail up. The wind's coming from behind, which was good." So I get up and I jump on the wheel, and just then this big squall comes along, and I said, I could see the wind speed getting up to 50, 55 knots. And I said, we have to get this mainsail down. And in order to do that, we'd have to turn up into the wind in order to get it down. So we had to come upwind, which means, obviously, when you go into the wind, the wind increases. So anyway, we got everybody ready, and Jerry and Leone were up at the masthead to pull it down. As we turned around, I watched the wind speed gauge, and my wind speed gauge goes to 60 knots, and it was well over that. So the boat went right over its side. The spreaders were in the water. And anyway, we managed to get the sail down, but we tore that sail. We tore the mizzen sail. I had two masts. There's a mast on the back sail. We tore that as well. And we only had one tiny little sail up the front as we now turned around back on our course, and we're still flying along. So that was pretty scary. And that was in Australia, and I haven't even left Australia at this stage. So anyway, we ended up winning the race and won $1,000, and we spent that fixing all the sails up.
So once again, you didn't give up.
No.
You charged ahead, still won the race, won the money, and fixed your boat up, and had one heck of an adventure, hey?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's awesome. So, well, the next question was, what's your most rewarding experience Do me a favor. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to break that into Part A and Part B. Part A,
Yep.
most rewarding experience in your travels or sailing, and then Part B is your most rewarding experience in building total lifestyle chiropractic, like in business.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, the sailing. Look, there's many things that come, but I spent 9 months mainly with my niece Vanessa in the Blas Islands. Now, this is on the Caribbean side of Panama. So it's on the eastern side of the canal. And it is an absolute paradise. There's 365 islands, one every day for every day of the year. Because of the big continental divide, you can't drive from the east coast where Panama City is. You can't get there by car or anything. So the only way to get there is either by boat, and they have the odd small plane fly in. So I just... And the Kuna Indians live there, and they're the second smallest people in the world next to the Pygmies. So they're these tiny little Indians, beautiful, beautiful people. And we just had, it was just idyllic. I wish that it lasted forever, that time there. And Vanessa, she was 18 at the time. She was basically adopted by a family. She used to stay with them. We went fishing with them. They fed us on all their organic produce out of the forest, and and we had some fantastic spearfishing and diving there. It was just that I'll never ever forget. And I've got a possibility of going back there, and I'm almost scared to go back, Todd. I've heard that there's cruise ships calling there now.
Oh no!
I'm almost scared to go back. In case it's not like that. Maybe I'll leave it the memory as is and explore some new places. So,
yeah, I can understand that. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful, man. Well, I want to go. If you go, maybe I can come with.
yeah, okay. Well, maybe you can come with us next year when we sail up to Eastern New Guinea.
Well,
I'll put you on the crew list, mate. Yeah.
All right, I'll swab the decks.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Craig, so most rewarding experience in your business adventures?
Look, I won't say like a particular event,
sure,
but the most rewarding part of that whole business was getting young chiropractors coming in and helping them become successful in practice. And to see a young fellow, I know you'd been in practice for a while, back in California. But also to see, you were very successful in Bundaberg, and I know that helped you out in your journey to get where you are now. So
Absolutely.
I get a lot of pleasure out of that. Josh Farmer, that took over from you in Bundaberg, I was coaching him a year before he even graduated back in the States.
Yeah, what a blessing, and I've had to watch that too, Craig, and we all owe you a big debt of gratitude for your mentorship. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and what I put myself in a position where, same as you, Todd, if you look after your patients or your clients impeccably, you don't have to worry about you. You'll be looked after. So your job is to look after all those people that come to you for care. And I took that one step above that, and if I looked after my chiropractors like yourself and Josh and the like, I didn't have to worry about me. To make sure you guys are successful and good at what you're doing, I automatically get looked after. So any chiropractors that might listen to this, look after your clients and your patients impeccably, and you'll be looked after in return. Don't even think about yourself.
Now, Craig, just real quick here, it's just popped into my head. There's going to be people who are listening that aren't chiropractors, but maybe they work in some other business or industry. Could they benefit from that same advice?
Absolutely. Look at all your clients, all your customers. And if you bend over backwards to make sure that you leave them better off than when you found them, and you have the right products and services that are going to better their life, and you focus on that, money's a byproduct of service. If you don't have enough money, you're not giving enough service. So focus on the service, folks. Don't focus on the money.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that, Craig. That's awesome. Which kind of leads me to you're answering my questions before I even get to ask them. Man, it's brilliant. Well, look, in this part of the show, Craig, I like to call it the Renegade Wrap-Up, and it's often the most valuable portion of the podcast. And you've got so much great advice. I'll just ask you the question anyway. You've probably already answered it in one form, but maybe you'll have another. Regarding, be it health, happiness, prosperity, what is the best advice that you've ever received, and how do you think our listeners could apply that to their lives?
Well, probably three things here, Todd. One, as far as health, rely on yourself. I assume that most of the people listening to this come to you for care. So use Todd as your resource. Let him guide you. He might not be have a degree in nutrition, but he can guide you in nutrition. He can send you to the right people. So use Todd as a resource. Another resource that I use all the time is Macola.com, www.macola.com. You're aware of that, Todd, too. That's a great resource to learn about, how to maximize your life, and basically a lot of nutrition. So, if eat well, move well, think well, and the thinking well is a resource for that is Murray Masrick at Real Education, which I've referred you to, Todd.
Yeah.
Cool. So look at people that have achieved what you want to achieve, and hang out with them.
So that's that. Hang out with those the 5 people you hang out with. Find the most successful people you know, and it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't even have to be a business or financial standpoint. Could be they have the most successful marriage, or you just love the way that their kids. Boy, I really, want to model my family after theirs because it's just brilliant. Then hang out with them, kind of it rubs off, right?
Right. Well, Tony Robbins says, find someone that's done what you want to do and copy them. He said it's not rocket science.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's modeled behavior, they call that, right? Modeled behavior. Okay, Craig, let me ask you another one. You've already hit it a little bit. Are there any other resources you'd recommend? So you mentioned Mercola, Murray Masrick. We're going to have a lot of listeners in the U.S. or just anywhere. Is there a book you might recommend? Favorite book?
Look, I've got so many books, Todd.
All right, top three. Hit us with your top 3.
Any of Tony Robbins' books.
Yep.
Waking Up the Giant Within You is a great one. Any of Brian Tracy's book. For those in business, would be the Absolute 100 Laws of Business, and it's all about life. That is a fantastic book.
Who's that one by?
Brian Tracy.
Okay, Brian Tracy. Yep.
And look, any of James Chestnut's books.
Yep, for health. Got it.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Craig, listen. Is there, if someone wanted to contact you, be it it could be another doctor, it could just be a mother or a business person, would it be okay for them to contact you, maybe via email or something like that? Do you have a way that they can contact you, just if they want to ping you a question? Maybe it'd be a sailing question. I'm sure you would love to talk to people about that.
If they call me up about sailing, tell them to allow about an hour on the phone. You won't stop me on that one. It's Craig. Craig at Windward Spirit, WINDWARD Spirit, or one word, .com.au.
.au. Gotta love it. Awesome. And listen, TRF listeners, we're going to have a page on our website dedicated to today's conversation with Craig, and we'll have that there, and any other resources we've mentioned we'll put on that page as well.
Oh, Craig,
before we wrap up our call, this is great. I mean, every time I do these interviews, I just want to talk with people. We could talk for hours. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to leave to our listeners?
Probably the power of chiropractic, Todd. I've got a little story if you've got time.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mum had pancreatic cancer at 49 years of age.
Wow.
I challenge anyone, and I'd like to hear from anyone that's heard of anyone surviving pancreatic cancer. I don't know anyone else.
I believe it's got the highest mortality rate of all cancer. It's a bad diagnosis.
Yeah. She died at 86 from dementia.
There you go.
and outlived all her doctors. Now, what did she do different? You'd think if I was a cancer researcher, I'd want to find a lady like that and find out, what did you do? That's when she started chiropractic. Did chiropractic cure cancer? Absolutely not. But did chiropractic get her body functioning better to a stage where it could look after itself better? Her immune system functioning better? Absolutely. You know, if I had cancer, I wouldn't want to be subluxated at the same time. Would you, Todd?
Absolutely not.
Right?
Absolutely
so,
not. Yeah.
Again, I want to get the point. Chiropractic doesn't cure cancer. But what chiropractic can do is put your body in a state where it can start to self-heal and self-regulate, which is a natural phenomenon of the body once your nervous system is functioning properly. So chiropractic, to me, is the future of health.
That's it. So, and for our listeners, would you agree, Craig, that it's, we have a lot of, people listening that might not really understand the full gravity. And on the show, we do talk about chiropractic a lot, but I know there's going to be people tuning in for other reasons than health. So would you say that chiropractic can be seen as a lifestyle versus, I have back pain, so I need treatment for back pain, versus it's just a way that I look after myself, much like eating healthy or exercising regularly?
Well, I'm the same as you, Todd. I eat, breathe, and sleep chiropractic. It saved my life, and continues to do that. And I think I'm pretty fit for 62, and I'd challenge most 50-year-olds to do what I do.
Keep up with you, yeah.
and I've had multiple injuries and crushed vertebrae and all the rest of it. I tell you, without chiropractic care, I wouldn't be able to do a quarter of what I do.
We didn't even get into your hang gliding. Speaking of broken bones and.
Adrenaline was my I was a adrenaline junkie back in those days. But honestly, you're right. Lifestyle, chiropractic is a lifestyle, and it's a way of thinking, and it's a way of doing.
Yeah, and inside out. Everything that we need comes from inside, not from outside.
Yeah.
In fact, Craig, could you maybe tie that together? So, health coming from the inside, and you could say, the life that you desire also comes from the inside, not from the outside. Does that make sense? So can you do me a favor? Just elaborate a little bit on that inside out and how you can apply that to really everything versus the outside in. So if it's health from the outside in, I'm going to take a pill. If it's happiness from the outside in, I'm going to go buy a Porsche that I can't afford because that's going to make me happy or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Well, as you said, everything it's all from the nervous system, your central and your peripheral nervous system, right? So what we're talking about chiropractically is how your brain can instruct the rest of your body to do what it needs to do. But your thoughts, Todd, this is where it all comes from. You are what you think, and whenever you're not focusing on something intently, you're playing a movie in your own mind, aren't you? Your brain never stops in your waking hours. And what is going on in your brain, that movie, that is the prelude of the rest of your life. So, folks, be very, very careful of what you're thinking. Because that's what's going to happen. I can look at somebody and look at their life, and I know how they think. So you can control your life by controlling your thoughts. That's why you've got to hang around with the right people that think right.
That's powerful, Craig. I think I'm gonna let us wrap up the show with that thought. You are what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of tied it all together. You want to travel around the world on a sailboat? You can. It's a product of your thinking. If you want to build a Fortune 500 company, you can. Product of your thinking, etc. That's brilliant, Craig. I want to say again from the bottom of my heart, as a friend and mentor, I've truly enjoyed speaking with you today, and I'm sure that our listeners have gained heaps, and particularly those that aren't in Australia or New Zealand are going to love your accent. And, just inspiring us with your wisdom and experience. And, I'm sure our listeners have taken away heaps. And listeners, again, you can go to therenegadefamily.com and we will have a page dedicated to today's episode with all the links mentioned. And Craig, I want to thank you again so much for being with us, sharing today, and making a difference.
Thank you very much, Todd. It's been a pleasure.
You got it, brother. We'll
Cheers,
see
mate.
you soon, hopefully on your boat.
Okay, Todd. Yeah, we'll do.
I love you, Daddy. We're counting on you. My mom is a renegade.
Thanks for tuning in to Renegade Radio. If you haven't yet done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a rating and review. Also, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TRFTribe. Please email us your questions for FAQ Friday, and we'll do our best to answer them in a future show. Simply email us at faq@therenegadefamily.com. If you got value from this episode and know someone else that would benefit from it as well, please share it with them.
Changing the world is going to start in your house. This is Dr. Todd, and from my family to yours, we wish you all the best. God bless, and we'll catch you soon.
Renegades, man up!